I say good morning, but it's actually very, very early, and I'm not entirely sure that it is good yet. When we go on a road trip, all kinds of things can happen. Good things, bad things, sometimes things that are planned, sometimes things that are serendipitous. And for those of you who don't know, for the last few days, since Saturday in fact, I've been on the road traveling from Portland, Oregon, all the way down to Southern California via the Mojave Desert, down to San Diego. I was filming yesterday with Aptera. We are the first YouTube channel, in fact, the first journalists to get a ride inside an Aptera, an alpha prototype, but I was very impressed with the car. And then today I'm up in the San Francisco Bay Area. Now, as Shakespeare says, the best laid plans of mice and men gang after gley. And yesterday that happened. And I think we have a problem in the electric vehicle world. And that is, we're not prepared to talk about when things go wrong. So today, I want to talk to you about when things go wrong. Yesterday, I left Aptera's headquarters in San Diego a little bit late. We had a really good time. I was filming for about an hour longer than I'd planned. Good morning to everybody as well. And so, what we decided to do was I was going to hit the road about 11 a.m. and head up to the San Francisco Bay Area where I had booked a hotel for the night. I was going to stay in Livermore or Livermore, I don't know how you pronounce it, I'm not from California. And so I had booked the hotel room, it had charging, and we hit the road. Now, from San Diego to Anaheim was a great jump. I had a full charge when I left Aptera. Arrived in Anaheim with probably about 30 or 40 miles remaining. Plugged in, went and grabbed a banh mi from one of the local food shops in Chinatown in Anaheim, which is where I was charging. Then I hit the road again and stopped a little bit further up, got another charge. And my goal was to stop at Panache or Panoche and charge. There's a Tesla supercharger there, quite a big one. There's also an Electrify America charging station, and then make that final hop up to Livermore, wherever you want to, however it's pronounced. I do apologize if I'm pronouncing it badly. And I got to Panoche, which is, by the way, in the middle of nowhere, and the Electrify America charging stations were broken, or rather, they were inaccessible. There's some building work going on nearby. All of those units had been dug up. There were wires coming out of them. They were all cordoned off. And there was no way that I could actually get a charge. They weren't activated. And my route planning software, I've been using a better route planner. It let me down at that point. It didn't know that that charging station was broken. I had not bothered to check, which is bad form on my part, I don't mind admitting. And so I was stranded. And the Electrify America app said, yes, it was offline. All the other charging companion apps were like, no, it's online, it's fine. And so I should have checked. So I'm going to take the blame for that. Totally my fault. And I was stranded. Now, thank you to the Best Western hotel that happens to be on that location. They said there was a 110 volt outlet that I could plug into. Because I am a member of various different hotel change. I was able to cancel my room in Livermore. Thank you to those of you who just told me it was Livermore. And so I was able to change my plans, which means I had an overnight hotel. I was able to play a little bit of D&D. I don't mind admitting my brain wasn't able to focus on editing. I didn't really focus on D&D. In fact, I kind of fell asleep. Felt very tired by the time I actually went to sleep, which was about 9:30, 10 o'clock. Was feeling sick, queasy. Yeah. Livermore. There you go. Livermore, apparently, not Livermore. Livermore. And so I was exhausted. I would have been dangerous driving further than that. And I think today I'm going to have to be careful about how much driving I do. Unfortunately, Zero Motorcycles haven't returned our email or our call or our tweet. So we are probably heading back north after I'm done with this last thing I'm doing today. I haven't said the name of the company yet, I don't think, in my slightly sleep-deprived state. Anyway, overnight charge, 110 volts. Pretty slow, right? Pretty darned slow. And it got to the point where when I got in the car this morning at 4:30 a.m., I had to get up at 4 a.m., I had enough range to get me to this location where I am now. I'm at a DC fast charging site, and I can show you here on the camera. This is a charge point unit. I've now got 63 miles of range. I'm charging at 40 kilowatts. And so I've now got enough, according to my car, to get to the next place on the route. I'm going to leave it a little bit longer, just to be sure. And every other point, every other charging stop that I've made on this 2,000 plus mile trip, I've pulled in with 40 miles of range remaining, maybe 30 to 40. And so I have been able to make it to the next charging station. Last night, I pulled in with 12 miles. We had a really terrible headwind. I drove a little bit faster than maybe I should have done. And so when I pulled in, I didn't have that extra range. And so I ended up spending the night. Otherwise, I would have just driven here last night. Now, I've learned some lessons from this, but at the same time, I'm okay. But in order for electric vehicles to be truly transformative, in order for everybody to experience electric vehicles, we need to start changing what expectations we have of hotels and amenities and of charging station providers. Now, I was talking to my mum when I pulled in here this morning, and I said, Mum, had the charging station that I pulled into last night, had it had some kind of backup solution, I wouldn't have had this problem. That there is a level 2 charging station, which would have added, I would have been able to have added that 40 miles of range in about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and I could have been back on my way again. And I don't think this is about Tesla versus non-Tesla. I think this is just about us, and this really frustrates me, right? So I've been watching the comments, and someone's like, oh, you need to get a plug-in hybrid, or you need to get a Tesla. And this is not productive, right? As a conversation, this is not productive. What we're talking about here is redundancy, okay? Now, redundancy of charging provision when DC charging goes wrong. To be absolutely clear, Electrify America on this trip has been outstanding. Electrify America has worked extremely hard in the last year to change its policies, to change its availability and its repair, and I have not encountered a bad Electrify America charging station on this trip. All of the charging stations I've tried have functioned, have allowed me to charge my car. I haven't had any authentication issues. The only issue was last night, building work. I don't know if that was Electrify America's fault or if it was somebody else's. But that entire site was offline. And I didn't get the message. Now, on the freeway, if you are coming up to a gas station on the freeway and there's no gas at the gas station, there'll be a sign on one of the overhead gantries that says, no gas at next services, right? So when you come up to a charging station that for some reason is offline, if it's a major site like an Electrify America one, which has between 4 and 8 normally charging stations, we need to have a way of letting people know, okay, that next charging station is broken, so you should probably stop here. And on the west coast of the US, we're now seeing rapid charging stations every 50 or 60 miles, sometimes even every 30 miles. This charging station is about 35 miles away from where I was last night, which is not very far at all. And if you know that the next charging station is going to have a problem charging your vehicle, you'll stop early and you'll charge up. So we need to have signs on freeways to go, okay, the next charging station is out of order for whatever reason. Let's go further up the road and fix the problem by allowing people to charge earlier. The other thing we need to see, and one of you had already mentioned this, is that we need AC or emergency backup charging, like a domestic charging station, adjacent to DC quick charging stations. It's a good backup. The other thing I want to see, and we've started to see this in some locations, are sites where there are multiple different brands of electric vehicle charging infrastructure within the same parking lot or within the same geographic area. There's one I can think of where there's an Electrify America charging station. It's like a fairly big American shopping center. There's an Electrify America at one side, and then in the adjacent park, there's a charge point unit, which means if one of them is offline, then there's another provider that can offer you a backup charging solution. And in that situation, I think it works, and it's very useful, and it's helpful, and it's what we need to make charging more equitable, more reliable, and more flexible. But the other thing that I would ask charging providers to do is that when they need to take an entire site offline, is not only to notify drivers ahead of time, but also maybe to provide some kind of backup power solution. Because let's face it, how many people use a gas station finder to find the next gas station? They just pull in and expect there to be gas. And so I think for electric cars, we need to get to that point. We need to be able to pull in to somewhere where we know there is a place to charge and expect that charging to be functional. And when it's not going to be functional, the charging provider needs to have thought of some kind of alternative to ensure that people do this. Now, I know someone's going to watch this and get upset and say, you're not doing electric vehicles any good because you're talking negatively about this experience. But I think in order for us to have this equitable, sustainable transition to cleaner, greener electric vehicles, we need to be honest about the tough things as well as talk about the positive things. Riding in that Aptera yesterday was fantastic fun. I don't want to say more about those right now because we do have that exclusive and we haven't edited the video yet. But in order for us to enjoy those positives, we also need to work together to talk about what's broken and what doesn't work right now. And acknowledge that while it was slightly inconvenient for me to stop last night and charge at a slow 110 volt outlet for the 8 hours or so that I needed to get enough range to get here safely, ultimately I didn't suffer. The only thing I've suffered from is having to get up at 4 a.m. to get to my appointment, which is fine. fine. I'm exhausted. It's a long road trip. I'm not feeling 100% well, but I'll get over that. But at the end of the day, I now have 87 miles in the tank. I'm still charging at 42 kilowatts because this is a 40 kilowatt unit as opposed to a 50 or 150. And I still enjoy driving this car. I still enjoy making these trips. And the fact that I've driven from Oregon all the way down to Southern California to the border with Mexico, and then I'm heading back up so Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, what day is it? It's Wednesday today. So in 5 days, I've gone from Portland, Oregon, down to film in Mojave, down to film in San Diego. I'm coming back up to the San Francisco Bay Area, and then I'm going to head home. 5 years ago, that would not have been possible in this car. 10 years ago, it would not have been possible really in any car. Even I think it would have been a struggle. Well, 10 years ago, it would have not been possible because the Model S was not being delivered. That was 2012 it came out. But, before the supercharger network and before Model S, that was not a thing. And while I could have technically driven from Portland down to San Diego in our Nissan Leaf back in 2011, it would have taken us a really long time because we would have been charging on the road. We would have been doing what I did last night, finding power, emergency power. And that would have been, I think, that would have been pretty challenging. So I'm going to go now because I've got to get to this top secret appointment. But that is why there was no videos uploaded last night, because normally I get a nice hotel with decent Wi-Fi and I upload my video. I haven't had a chance to upload. We've got some shorts to come, which I filmed, and a couple of other things. So I'm going to work on those today if I have a chance. Know that content is on the way. I know that not everybody likes live streams, but that's how I see this situation. I'm also going to be doing a couple more videos. I'll be talking about the Better Route Planner later on and some of the other stuff that is coming your way. So thanks for joining me. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Support us using the links that will be ultimately attached to this video when I get a chance to change the tags. Stay safe, enjoy your day, and keep evolving.